Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Intesar-e-Wilayat Ch-2. Address number 2. Wali-ul-Asr. Immediate Wali. O Nasareen of the Wali-ul-Asr, I am saying that all the creatures in the whole of the universe belong to their immediate Wali. Friends, now I take the matter one step further, and here I would like to state that it is the faith of the mystics or men of wisdom that Allah Almighty is the Wali-ul-Asr of the sacred family, clad in the veil of monotheism and prophethood, as Allah says in the Holy Quran. Innama waliyakumullahu wa rasulahu wallazina amanullazina yuqimunus salata wa yutunaz zakata wa hum raki'un. Surah Ma'idah, verse number 55. There is no one but only Allah is your Wali, and His Prophet is Wali, and those sacred ones who are believers and offer prayers and offer zakat while bowing before Allah Almighty. They are guardians in fact. We cannot do a thorough analysis and decomposition of this verse here, nor can we talk about why the plural clauses for the last wilaya have been used in this verse. If one being grants a ring while bowing before Allah in prayers, then why the plural form is used for a single being? How much expensive that ring was? Allama Darbandi writes with the reference to Imam Jafar-o-Sadiq that the price of that ring was equal to the revenue of Syria. And the revenue of Syria was 1,000 camels laden with gold and silver. Of these, 600 camels were laden with silver and 400 camels were laden with gold. Now one can easily estimate how much expensive that specified ring was, which was taken from bin Haram. If we suppose that a single camel was laden with 1 kilogram of gold, 400 camels were laden with 4,000 kilograms of gold and 60,000 kilograms of silver. If we suppose 200 kilograms or 400 kilograms, then the quantity of gold and silver will automatically increase. And if we estimate its worth according to the present rate, it will further be multiplied. Now the Holy Quran is the witness that the ring was granted as zakat, and to pay zakat, one must be eligible for giving to charity. If a person has accumulated gold and silver for the whole 11 months, then zakat is obligatory. It was mentioned by a person that Amir-e-Kainat used to work as Jew's laborer whose name was Shimon. The question arises of how Amir-e-Kainat became so wealthy that the zakat he offered was equal to the revenue of Syria. If we assume that each camel was laden with 100 kilogram of gold, and if we assume the price of gold per tola or 58.3 carats to be 5,000 rupees, the worth of gold would be 20 million rupees except silver. Zakat is imperative only for those who keep gold and silver in their possession for at least 1 year. In the case of Amir-e-Kainat, such a huge volume of gold and silver was in the store that zakat became obligatory. And it seems indigestible why Amir-e-Kainat used to do labor for a Jew. Now it's a matter of thinking that if zakat of wealth becomes several billion rupees, which is the 40th part, then what will be the real wealth? It's worth thinking that zakat is imperative only on 9 items, and zakat on silver is due to silver, and zakat on gold is due to gold. And this specified ring was made of silver. It means it was not the zakat of all the items, but was offered for accumulated silver only. In other words, zakat for the other 8 items was not included in it. Now the worth of the whole property in possession of Amir-e-Kainat seems inestimable. Despite all this, it is said that Amir-e-Kainat was unprosperous and his family members often remained starved. Now we have to sort out this particular type of poverty where a poor pays zakat billions of dollars. If it is possible to find out such a poor man whose home is filled with silver worth 80 billion rupees besides gold, if such a poor person is found, it must be brought to notice. Those who have wisdom prove with the help of the above mentioned verse that wilaya or guardianship has 3 levels. In the first level, Allah Almighty is the wali or guardian of the Holy Prophet. That is, Allah is his immediate wali. In the second level, Reverend Emperor himself, that is the Holy Prophet, is the wali or guardian of his sacred descendants. In the third level, or Imam or Wali, who are Wali-ul-Asr of the whole humanity in their respective periods. Friends, you know that the various aspects of the wilaya of Allah Almighty have been minutely highlighted in the Holy Quran. That is, He is the wali of the believers and some believers are His wali. But the point under discussion is not His wilaya as a whole, but only a single aspect of His wilaya, that is, the aspect of Wilayat-e-Asr. Here it should be kept in mind that in the case of Allah Almighty's wilaya, the word Asr stands for all the infinite time. Since the time He had been and so long as He has to remain, the whole of this period will stand for His Asriyat or present age. Friends, again it is a reality that the concept of contemporaneity or Asriyat is not attached to the being of Wali, but the beings of the subordinates or followers. Amir-e-Kainat and Chahar the Masumin or 14 infallibles have the status of being the first divine light, Nur-e-Awwal. But their contemporaneity or Asriyat for human beings is the name of that period of their appearance in which the existing human beings have been entrusted responsibilities of Sharia, including Nusra, regarding the 14 infallibles. Imam can be categorized into 2 kinds. First, Imam-e-Samat or passive, silent Imam. 2. Imam-e-Natiq or eloquent and commanding Imam, that is endowed with the power to ordain divinely. It so happened that 3 or 4 Imams like to bless the world with their presence, but at one time only 1 Imam remained definitive and commanding, and the rest of the 3 Imams remained passive. As in Amir-e-Kainat's commanding period of Imamat, the sacred Imam-e-Mujtaba and Karim-e-Karbala and Sayyid-us-Sajideen were present, but they remained passive. Friends, similarly, Imamat is also categorized into 2 kinds. First, Imamate-Samatao-Ghaiba or passive and invisible Imamat. Second, Imamate-Natikao-Hazira or eloquent, commanding and visible Imamat. Definitive Imam is the Imam of his era, but his Imamat becomes commanding and definitive when he formally unleashed his sword, that is jihad, becomes obligatory for him. It means that out of our 11 Aimai Huda or sacred divine guides, only 2 were such whose Imamat was fully commanding and definitive, that is Amir-e-Kainat and Karim-e-Karbala. The rest of Aima Huda or sacred divine guides were definitive and eloquent or Natik in their respective periods, but their Imamat remained passive or Samat. It can be understood that in some specified periods, the Imam is eloquent and commanding or Natik, even though his Imamat is passive and silent or Samat. But the Imam has spent that specified period with his followers. That's why that specified period has got the status of the duration of Asr or age of the Imam for his believers. Friends, the follower of the Imam can be martyred in the presence of his Imam, and even it is possible that Imam may be martyred in the presence of his follower. In the second case, the followers' concept of Asr or present era will be divided into parts, and the second part will also be included in the concept of Asr or present era. Some people witness the era of 3 or 4 Wali-ul-Asr or Imam of the age. They remain loyal to the first 3 but becomes denier of the 4th one, as in the case of Ali bin Hamza Batani, who remained a true believer till the period of the 6th and 7th Imamate, but became denier of the 8th Reverend Emperor Zaman-e-Ghurba and withdrew from his Nusra and was condemned to hell. Friends, when the concept of Wali-ul-Asr is duly fixed, the following 2 aspects became prominent. 1. The aspect of ideology and faith. 2. The aspect of responsibility and its practical implication. Here we will focus on the second aspect of responsibility and its practical implication. For this kind of specific dialogue, the field of Wilaya is very wide and it takes decades to talk about it. And all the virtues of the sacred descendants of the Holy Prophet can be proved with the concept of the very Wilayat-e-Asr or Wilaya of the age. Even the ideological differences existing among the Shiites can be amicably solved with the same concept of Wilayat-e-Asr or Wilaya of the age. Not only that, but the disputatious conflicts existing among the different schools of thought in Islam can also be addressed with this very concept. But no, they are not the topics under discussion. Friends, we are talking of aspects of responsibility and its practical implication of Wilayat-e-Asr. Wilayat-e-Asr is the very designation that determines the dimensions of our attitudes and actions, whether they are correct or incorrect. The divine infallibles or Chaharda Masumin have taught us through their attitudes that their Wali, that is Allah Almighty, that whatever they have done for their Wali, we must also do in the same manner with our Wali-ul-Asr. The sacred family has also given us the same message that all the followers will be evaluated by their attitudes with their Wali-ul-Asr, and the final decisions in the hereafter will be taken based on these attitudes. The sacred family has practically taught that what is to be done is to do for Wali-ul-Asr, and they have practically done whatever can be done for Wali-ul-Asr. These transcendent beings have declared this religion for us so much that whatever they have done for their immediate Wali, that is Allah Almighty, we have to do for this whole sacred family in general and our Wali-ul-Asr in particular. It means that we must be ever ready for all kinds of sacrifices and nusra for the establishment of the divine government of our Wali-ul-Asr. Because this is also the teachings of the divine infallibles or Masumin, that we must not hesitate to make any sacrifice for our Wali-ul-Asr. Whatever services these ennobling beings rendered for Allah Almighty, we have to do the same for the sacred family generally and with our immediate Wali-ul-Asr particularly. It means that we must be ready for every kind of sacrifice for the establishment of the divine government and nusra of our immediate Wali-ul-Asr. Such are the teachings of the infallibles that we should not hesitate to make any sacrifice for our Wali-ul-Asr. Previously, we discussed the responsibilities of men relating to nusra and sacrifice in every field of life. But today, we will present the components of the teachings of nusra and sacrifice which are reserved for women only. The woman of the sacred family, clad in monotheism and prophethood, also delivered the same message to the woman world, that they should not hesitate to offer the same sacrifices which they themselves rendered for their immediate Wali-ul-Asr. This is the right way which they taught the woman who followed. This is the very ideology which they first practiced and then preached. If the women who believe carry out the orders given by the woman of the sacred family, they will get the same results and virtues as acquired by the chaste woman of the sacred family. If they act otherwise, that would be mere their engineered ideology, the consequences of which would be on their own shoulders. There are some possessions that for a woman are dearer to her than her own life, and she strives hard to save them even by sacrificing her own life. Let me explain these things one by one. One, first thing that a woman loves more than her own life is her home. But the sacred ladies, clad in the veil of monotheism and prophethood, had never considered their houses as their homes for the sake of their immediate wali or guardian. If they have ever really loved their own homes, if this seems beyond comprehension, just one look at the scattered sacred shrines of the chaste woman would make everything crystal clear. These shrines are not confined to the geographical boundaries of Makkah, Medina, Karbala, Syria, and Kufa, but the sacred shrines of the pure Sayyid ladies can be found scattered all over the world. They have wiped out the concept of their homes for the sake of their immediate Wali-ul-Asr. By doing so, they have taught us the lesson that we, being the Nasreen of our Wali-ul-Asr, might also have to leave our homes. The abandoned homes of the sacred families have set examples for us. Secondly, the son of a woman is dearer to her than her own life. Examples in this regard can easily be found in the blazing sand of Karbala, where the bodies of the martyred sons are scattered, stained with blood and dust. One can find a young son, an aged son, a blooming son, an innocent son, a marriageable son, a newly married son, and even an infant son. On the other side, the mothers are seen feeling proud of the martyred bodies of their sons. While sacrificing their longings for the sake of their Wali-ul-Asr, these sacred mothers have taught us that we must be ready to sacrifice our young and handsome sons for the sake of our Wali-ul-Asr. These are the teachings of Nusra, which is in fact the religion of Nusra. And the preaching of this religion of Nusra is fully demonstrated in Karbala. Thirdly, a woman's brother is also dearer to her than her own life. Friends, I may not even be able to give examples of the way the sacred ladies, clad in the veil of monotheism and prophethood, have sacrificed the lives of their real brothers for the sake of their Wali-ul-Asr. It will not take long to find examples of such sacrifices. Just look at the cut-off heads acquiring the scenic bliss in front of the camels of the plundered caravan which is heading towards Kufa and Syria from the 11th of Muharram only. All kinds of brothers will be found here, and all kinds of brothers may easily be observed in this caravan. Having acquired the top of the highest heaven, the traveling blessed brothers can be seen ahead of the pure sisters riding on the camels' pillions which were without proper covering. Just have a look at the brother who is quite young, another brother who has grown old. There would be a brother who is faithful to such a greater extent that he never dared to call sisters his real sisters just out of courtesy. There is also one such brother, an embodiment of handsomeness, who gives Allah Almighty a glimpse of the Holy Prophet. Besides, in the caravan of these camels, there is such an innocent sister traveling with the martyr head of her innocent brother who is only 6. This innocent sister seems to deliver the sacred message to the innocent sisters of this material world that they must not hesitate to sacrifice their innocent brothers for the sake of their Wali-ul-Asr. The brothers might be the most handsome, but cannot surpass the unmatchable beauty of Ali Asghar, the unmatchable prince. Fourthly, the husband of a woman is even dearer to her than her own life. Examples of the sacred princesses can easily be quoted who sacrificed their husbands for the sake of their Wali-ul-Asr. Friends, there are many examples of husbands who sacrificed their lives in Karbala. Let me mention here which princess has sacrificed which great husband for the sake of her Wali-ul-Asr. A poet has pathetically depicted the miserable condition of these pure princesses in the verse saying, "When these princesses came back home, their friends approached to see them and witnessed that the married ones were widows and mothers lost their children." Friends, the honorable mother of the princes Muhammad and Ibrahim have got such unprecedented husband who was sacrificed for the sake of his Wali-ul-Asr. The chaste wife of the emperor of faithfulness has got such a husband who was unmatchable in every respect. Similarly, was the husband of Prince Ali Akbar's mother an ordinary husband? Besides, there was one husband whose ruin was lamented by the whole universe, by the whole Sayyid family, by Mina Arfat, by earth and heaven, and above all, by Allah Almighty Himself. He was the husband of that sacred bride who could avail the protection of her husband only for a few moments. Her hands were still decorated with henna, but she was deprived of her husband. This sacred princess herself is delivering the message of Nusra to the brides of the universe that they must not hesitate to sacrifice their husbands for the sake of their Wali-ul-Asr. They should remember this message considering the decorated wedding bed of that prince which would deliver the lesson of Nusra. Fifthly, the jewelry of a woman is even dearer to her than her own life. There are examples when the sacred women sacrifice their jewelry for the sake of their Wali-ul-Asr. Friends, just remember the evening in Karbala on the 10th of Muharram, which is known as Sham-e-Ghariba, and focus that the sacred woman, clad in the veil of monotheism and prophethood, were peeping miserably out of their burn-out tents how the damned Syrians were quarreling over the distribution of the plundered jewelry which they had scattered before them. Here the message is that all the modest women must not hesitate to sacrifice their jewelry for the sake of their Wali-ul-Asr. Sixthly, the dowry of a woman is even dearer to her than her own life. Friends, for a woman, her dowry is very precious to her. We can ask from the bride of a few moments in the evening of Karbala, whose dowry was traveling to the highest of heaven, what kind of sacrifice a woman has to make for the sake of her Wali-ul-Asr. And it was the dowry of the newlywed bride. When the dowry of the newlywed widow's daughter-in-law has to be sacrificed, then the heart of every noble mother trembles with fear. And we have taken this very lesson from Karbala, that in the time of need, we must take the privilege of sacrificing the dowry of the newlywed widow daughter-in-law for the sake of our Wali-ul-Asr. Seventhly, the veil of a woman is even dearer to her than her own life. Friends, a modest woman sacrifices her life for the sake of her veil. The veil is preferable for her to life, property, children, and even her husband. Now there are examples of the transcendent women of this sacred family who never cherish their veil precious just for the sake of their Wali-ul-Asr. They delivered the same message to the modest woman that they must sacrifice their veil for the sake of their Wali-ul-Asr. There are countless examples of this lesson, but here I will point only one of them. Friends, in the Battle of Uhud, the Muslims were apparently defeated. Here we will discuss that particular aspect that directly relates to our topic. In this battle, the line of the Holy Prophet, Hazrat Amir Hamza, including other precious Ansars, was martyred. Not only that, the teeth and the head of the Holy Prophet were also injured. Here, it is worth mentioning that the infallibles or Masumin have outrightly rejected that the teeth were martyred and disjointed from the holy mouth of the Holy Prophet. In the whole of his life, any part of the resplendent body was not separated. Besides, if the teeth got dislocated, a man seems to be defective. And if his teeth had been dislocated, God forbids, he would have seemed incomplete. While Allah Almighty has kept his beloved and flawless Prophet free from this defect as well. No doubt, in that battle, Mughira bin As, the cursed one, and Abdullah bin Kumesa Hazeli, another cursed one, hurled 2 stones at the Holy Prophet. As a result of this act, one stone touched his cheek, and the second one with his teeth, and both his cheek and teeth started bleeding. At that time, the damned one announced, taking an oath of idols called Lat and Uzza, that the Holy Prophet has been martyred. Then the renowned youth of the Muslims and the honorable companions of the Holy Prophet was seen fleeing from the battlefield and seeking escape over the mountains. After this engineered echo of the martyr of the Holy Prophet, people fled from the field of Uhud and took a breath after reaching Medina. When a person entered Medina, he witnessed that a woman of migrants and Ansars were standing on the thoroughfare, waiting anxiously for news from the battlefield. That person announced that the emperor of the prophets had been martyred. This news fell on the woman like a sound of doomsday, and while wailing and lamenting, they rushed to the city to inform the Queen of the universe, who was also waiting for the Holy Father. As the Queen of the universe heard about the martyrdom of her father, she rushed towards the battlefield, even barefooted, because this is the privilege of the Wali-ul-Asr. If he happened to suffer a shock, he is not permitted to sit at home. As the bewailing Queen of the universe left for the battlefield of Uhud, she was accompanied by the woman who belonged to migrants and Ansars, as it is written in the Biharul Anwar, chapter 14, page number 63. There was not even a single woman who had not left for the battlefield of Uhud. The bewailing Queen of the universe was on the way to the battlefield and surrounded by the woman who formed the wheel around her. Medina is situated at a distance of around about 3 to 4 kilometers from the mountain of Uhud. The queen covered this very distance on foot while mourning and wailing. As she approached the battlefield of Uhud, she witnessed that Amir-e-Kainat had already taken the Holy Prophet to a safer place. As she approached them, she saw that the Holy Prophet's cheek and teeth were bleeding. His face was stained with the blood of his cheek, and his head was also injured. The queen witnessed the condition of her father, uttered Wah Bata, and sat in front of him. The leader of both the worlds comforted her, and he bemoaned witnessing her beloved daughter wailing and moaning. After that, Amir-e-Kainat took water in his shield and washed his head and face. Then he burnt dates leaves and filled the Holy Prophet's injuries with the ashes of the leaves. This was also the daughter, and another sacred daughter, an embodiment of innocence, who after hearing the news of the martyrdom of her holy father, readily realized the privilege of Wali-ul-Asr. She requested her sacred aunt to allow her to approach her father for Nusra, as it was being announced that Imam-e-Mazloom has descended from the saddle of the horse and been martyred. The sacred aunt said that the whole battlefield was jam-packed with the tyrants on the backs of their horses. The battlefield was full of horses, and there was no room for passage through them. That's why it seemed almost impossible for her to approach her sacred father. She replied to her aunt that she would implore the tyrants to let her approach her father in such a miserable condition that they might take pity on her, being an orphan. It is unexplainable how that innocent princess managed to approach her father. But it can be comfortably said that the Queen of the universe was fortunate enough as she approached her injured father on the battlefield of Uhud. The Holy Prophet had already been taken to a safer place and offered water and first aid. But the innocent princess was destined to approach her sacred injured father when preparation was made to slaughter him. 8 murderers had withdrawn, and only the cursed Shimmer was left there. Then the innocent princess witnessed that calamity. Before her very eyes, the sacred head of her father was being cut off with a rusty blade. Being the eyewitness of the 13 savage strokes on the sacred neck of Karbala, the innocent princess kept on wailing and lamenting. The message was given by the princess is crystal clear. That is, the true follower must not care about the perils and even her veil and modesty for the sake of her Wali-ul-Asr, and must offer her nusra as much as possible. Let's pray collectively for the early advent of our Wali-ul-Asr, the virtual avenger of the oppressed ones, so that he can avenge all the atrocities one by one committed to the downtrodden and restore all the oppressed ones in their homes, cheerful and delighted with dignity and elegance. Ameen, Ya Rabbul Alameen. Alhamdulillah wa shukra sahib zaman, ajjalallahu farajahu sharif.